Honourable member for Kelowna Lake Country has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always an honour to rise on behalf of the residents of Kelowna Lake Country. I was recently in a meeting with over 20 small business owners who are frustrated with federal government policies affecting them. One mentioned how the federal government keeps adding to their challenges, and he said they need regulations that are stable and that small businesses have enough challenges. Another small business owner said they have another business in the United States and they're wondering if they should move more of their business there. That is lost opportunities and lost jobs for Canadians and for the Canadian economy. Now, just recently, Statistics Canada reported that GDP per capita continues to fall in Canada. And things look even worse when Canada's economy is compared to the United States. Oh, I want to mention as well, Mr. Speaker, that I'll be splitting my time. America's GDP per capita grew by 4.5% since 2022. Now, before this Prime Minister, Canada was keeping up with the United States, and in fact, it was 9 years ago that the New York Times found that Canada's middle class was richer than America's. But the Liberals really have destroyed Canada's economy with their job-killing taxes and wasteful spending. And we've really seen a collapse in productivity. And when we talk about productivity, this means how far people's paychecks go. This relates to not just how hard people work at all, but it has to do with the productivity of a country and how much money people have in their pockets at the end of the month. The productivity gap with the United States now stands at about $20,000 per person a year difference. And something that has affected small business owners and Canadians recently are the Liberal changes to the capital gains tax. And I want to talk about that for a little while. The Liberals were scrambling when facing opposition from doctors and small business owners and Canadians saving for their retirement. And as a result of these investment-killing policies, capital really has been driven out of Canada and Canadians are worse off. And I've had the opportunity at both at the Housing Committee, I've sat in recently at the Finance Committee and also at the Trade Committee, and hearing from witnesses from all different types of businesses, and they're all basically saying the same thing, that this capital gains tax is going to hurt investment. Businesses are already moving to the United States, and it will make home building more difficult. We also know that this job-killing tax is on healthcare, home building, small businesses, and also farmers. Technology companies have been talking about the fact that this will make it much more difficult for them to find investors. And also, according to economist Jack Mintz, the increase of the capital gains tax rate will reduce Canada's GDP by $90 billion, real per capita GDP by 3%, its capital stock by $127 billion, and employment by 404,000 people. Taxing farmers drives up food costs. Taxing doctors means it's harder to find a doctor. Taxing home builders means fewer homes being built. And taxing small businesses means fewer paychecks, and small business owners need to work longer. The Council of Canadian Innovators recently commissioned a survey of entrepreneurs which showed 90% of their respondents believed the Liberals' capital gains tax hike would have a negative effect on the innovation economy. Now, I literally could talk for an hour reading notes and messages from residents in my community of Kelowna Lake Country on how the capital gains tax will affect them. I just have a few here that I'll read from. The first one is from a local resident, and he says, "I've owned a commercial unit in Kelowna for several years. He goes on, he says, I decided that purchasing a strata unit would be a good long-term retirement plan. And then the Prime Minister introduced the increase in capital gains. It was until he introduced the capital gains. He says, my accountants analyzed the penalties I would be paying if I sold the property past the date in June, and the additional taxes were so substantial that now I cannot sell my unit until at least 2029. He goes on to say, so instead of retiring at the age of 71, I can now plan on working for another few years. And then he goes on. Here's another resident who wrote to me saying, well, we definitely will be affected. We own a small business and a cottage, both of which we plan to sell as part of our retirement plan. Both will now have higher capital gains tax and will eat into our retirement funds. This means that we will have to work at our business longer to just make up for the tax increase. And then they go on. I hope this helps build your case for tax reform, and thank you for your efforts. Here's another resident that says, as a single middle-income mom who has raised 3 kids to adulthood, I am now in the position of needing to assist these adult kids with buying their first homes given the unaffordability. And then they go on to say, it's simply unfair to change the tax rules without thinking through all the ways that this will hurt those of us who have worked hard for our whole lives, tried to responsibly save for our retirements, and are trying to help our children with the ridiculous unaffordability they are being hit with. I have another resident that actually talks about the CRA. CRA helpline has stopped taking calls due to the volume. When you could get to through the queue, it's a 3-hour wait to speak to a CRA representative. And they go on. So this is why Conservatives has said that within 60 days of becoming in government, Conservatives will name a tax reform task force of entrepreneurs, inventors, farmers, and workers to design a bring-it-home tax cut that will allow workers to bring home more of each dollar they earn, bring home production and paychecks by making Canada the best place to invest, hire, and make things, bring home fairness by reducing the share of taxes paid by the poor and middle class while cutting tax-funded corporate welfare and cracking down on overseas tax havens. We will also be cutting the paperwork and bureaucracy in the tax system by at least 20%. Now, one other thing that I want to mention, since we're talking about Canada's economy here today and the budget, is that the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation has reports out how there are far fewer housing starts in 2023, in fact 30,000, and as a consequence of soaring interest rates. And in 2023, the CMHC recorded that Canada had 240,000 housing starts, which is down 8% from the previous year. Now, we know that in order to bring back housing affordability and to build the homes that Canada needs, there would have to be approximately 550,000 homes being built on an annual basis. We just completed a study at the Housing Committee on housing, and there was testimony one after the other of developers and people who work in the industry, in the construction industry, saying that there's not a chance that they're, based on the current policies and the current situation with costs and taxes and interest rates and bureaucracy, that there will be anywhere near the homes built that we need in Canada. Now, just in my last minute here, I want to mention as well what has just been released, which is the Parliamentary Budget Officer's updated carbon tax report, showing that most Canadian families are worse off as a result of the carbon tax. We know that life has never been more expensive over the last 9 years. And the Parliamentary Budget Officer also estimates that the federal fuel charge will increase the budgetary deficit by $1.5 billion in 2024-25 and ultimately $4 billion in 2030-31 as a result of the decrease of employment and investment income. We also know that it was previously discovered that internal numbers within the government show the carbon tax will cost Canadians $30.5 billion by 2030. And this works out to about over $1,800 per family in extra annual costs. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, we want to have a country where hard work pays off for powerful paychecks and pensions that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. And that's what Conservatives.
Thank you very much. Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? The honourable member for Fredericton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for her comments this evening. And I just wanted to highlight, you know, the idea that this capital gains increase is a job-killing tax. According to an economic report as cited in BNN Bloomberg, analysis suggests that favorable tax treatment of capital gains disproportionately benefits the wealthy and does not help the economy. In fact, sectors that earn the most capital gains, notably venture capital companies and investment banks, as well as the real estate sector, together made 52.6% of all corporate capital gains reported between 2018 and 2022. Meanwhile, that sector shed nearly 5,000 jobs during that period. And so I'm just trying to reconcile her comments with these statistics. Thank you.
Honourable member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I did mention a number of situations from constituents in my community of Kelowna Lake Country, but I really do encourage the member to go to the testimony from the many, many witnesses that have testified at the Human Resources Committee, which deals with housing, at the Finance Committee, and also at the Trade Committee, which all has testimony from many businesses and organizations talking very specifically about how the capital gains tax is going to hurt their business and their industry, and I really encourage her to go and look at all of that testimony.